So my bank accounts were recently hacked, and so was my wife's. And if you watched my video on how it happened and kind of our thought process as it was happening, and while I was making this video, I kid you not, we had another banking hack, and I'm going to talk about this later on this video. Debit cards, please stop using them. Just don't even get them out of the safe unless you absolutely have to, because it happened again. I just spent an hour on the phone with the bank, and I'm going to tell you what they told me, because I cannot make this stuff up. And I wanted to add to that video by giving you a real heads up of what to expect if your bank accounts are hacked. And I'm not doing this to scare anybody, it's to educate you on what really happens, because there's a lot of nonsense out there that nobody really knows what's going to happen until it happens. If the world really understood how frail our banking environment really is, how frail the financial world really is, they would lose their minds and run for the hills, because it all really hangs on by a thread. So let's get into it. I'm going to give you the rundown of how to prepare yourself and how to react when something does happen, and what you need to do to keep this from happening. Because if you're just out there operating on the internet and you're not thinking about these things, you're literally like an ant crossing a highway, and you're going to get smushed sooner or later, and it might not be pretty. So let's get right into it. So when I was going through the comments section of my last video, when my bank accounts were hacked, I was going through the comments section, and I was seeing a lot of misunderstanding of a lot of stuff. One, a lot of people think that FDIC insurance is going to protect them from their money get stolen. That's not true. Please go and read about FDIC insurance and SBIC insurance and understand the difference and what it really does. All it does is protect you, your money, from a bank failure. Like if the bank goes out of business, they're saying that if it's FDIC insured, you would be insured up to $250,000. Okay, I want you to do something. Go into your local bank and ask the person at the desk, what does FDIC insurance? And you would be shocked to know that most people in the bank don't even understand FDIC insurance. I learned that the hard way when SVB Bank collapsed, and I went in at Silicon Valley Bank. I went into the bank and I asked my local bank, actually was a credit union, I won't say the name, and I asked them, hey, am I protected, and what does FDIC insure? And they could not tell me. They even looked it up and they could not reiterate back to me what that even means. So if you lose your password, or somebody steals your password, or anything like that that's your fault, FDIC is not going to protect you. So please understand that, and understand that you have to protect your password. In our situation, they convinced the bank to change my password and my wife's password, and then they were able to move the money out of our accounts, okay? So know that the FDIC insurance didn't protect us from that. The bank carries insurance for situations like this when it's their fault. But I will say this, it is up to you to prove to the bank that it was not your fault and it was their fault. Remember, the moment you call the bank or you get to the fraud department, everything you say is recorded, and everything you say wrong or without knowledge of is going to be used against you, because they're going to launch an investigation with their security team, and then they're going to decide whether they're going to give you your money back, right? If you see in the situation where our money was stolen, long weekend, they convinced the bank, they took our money, they moved it from member to member to member to member, which were zombie accounts that were instant transferable, because you know how you can do a member-to-member transfer in your bank? Most banks can do this, and you can do it instantaneously. Well, some people don't know that their bank has, their account has actually been hacked. Like, they have no idea, and these fraudsters, these scammers can funnel money back and forth through these accounts, and nobody even knows, because sometimes people don't check their accounts for a long period of time, and they really don't even know they've been hacked. We call those zombie accounts. So you really got to understand and read into these things to know how you're actually getting scammed, or you might not even know. And they use those accounts to get 3 or 4 or 5 levels or stages of removed from our accounts, and then try to wire it out of the institution after the funds settle. This brings me to my next thing, and if you haven't learned about what FedNow is, it was the idea to speed up these transfers of funds, right? So before, when you had the settlement period, that was when banks could look at the funds and be like, wait a minute, we're going to hold them back. We think this is shady. We're not going to let it go. Well, with FedNow, it can be instantaneously, and it is going to be a hacker's paradise, because they're just going to hack your account, shoot it out of your account, and the funds are gone. In our situation, they were able to hold the funds 3 or 4 accounts down, and until it was all figured out and realized it needed to come back to us, and they were able to close those zombie accounts out. But FedNow is mind-blowingly scary, that they can get into somebody's account, shoot it off, and it really be instantaneously. There's no settlement period, and there's no way to get it back. If you have large sums of money in bank accounts, you need to really think about splitting it all up. So let's say, and I touched on this in my last video, that your account gets hacked. Let's say there's 100 grand in there. You've got all your money. Let's say your checking and savings account got hacked, and you've got 100 grand in there. They're going to, and it's gone, they're going to shut that account down. So let's say your mortgage, let's say your car payment, let's say all those things that you need to pay for, you know, for your livelihood, is now gone. All your money's gone, okay? You don't even have enough money to buy a bag of peanuts, and that's the way Samantha was, okay? Her car payment's coming up, your insurance payments, daycare payments, everything that's coming up is all of a sudden there's no money for it to happen with. And this could last for 90 days. They've got usually 90 days or more to come up with an answer of whether they're going to give you your money back or not. And the answer is, it's up to them if they give you your money back. And you can prove that it was not your fault. So keep this in mind when you have all your money in one spot, that you could have a compromise. It happens all the time. And you could be out food. You could be out your mortgage payment. Now you got to go talk to the mortgage company on why you can't pay. Okay? What if that goes on for 2 months, 3 months? Car payment. All of a sudden you're late. What's going to happen to your credit? What's going to happen to all these things? Okay? Daycare is going to kick you out. There's so many like mind-blowingly scary things that could happen in that situation where all your money is now compromised. I mean, this could happen in any type of situation like that. It could be, you know, you could be getting sued. Same thing. They freeze your accounts. Like, you just got to be cognitive. It's a scary situation. Sometimes these compromises don't come from just you. They could have hacked the power company, the Target, any of these institutions that could have your banking information. And now people want you to do these auto debits with your bank accounts, or they want you to do, put your debit card, use your debit card instead of a credit card, because you might get that transaction cost, that fee for using the card. Well, the credit card. Well, you know, sometimes there's other ramifications. And just because, like, you might not get hacked. Like, I didn't get hacked when all my personal information got hacked. The FBI got hacked, okay? They gave away my information. So, same way with Target. All those debit cards and all those swipes that they had collected got hacked and taken away. It could be the hospital that you pay for that medical bill with. It just goes on and on and on and on. So I want to walk you through when your debit card gets hacked, okay? Not your credit card, but your debit card. And I've talked a lot, endlessly, on these other videos about don't use your debit card, well, and to use your credit card. Here's the reason why, okay? So I just spotted, we had a card for our family, and the amount of transactions going through there were just not big enough to get a credit card. And it was just a joint account, and we were doing it for Little Jack, and like paying for his toys and stuff. And we were using the debit card because we had to, and we saw a bunch of fraudulent transactions on there. And there wasn't enough money to spend a day arguing about this, because this is the way this stuff works. $5 here, $2 there, some Prime Video here, some, random stuff, 15, 20 bucks. They know how to play this game. And so when you call the bank, they're going to say, oh, there's a difference between a dispute and a fraudulent claim. And if it's a dispute, then you need to go talk to the company itself and get them to fix it. And I'm like, wait a minute. Most of the internet is automated. There's no way to call the customer service. And they're like, well, but if you have a history of that type of transaction before, like let's say Amazon, they want you to talk to Amazon. And I'm like, well, so if somebody uses my card at Walmart, I got to go talk to Walmart, or at Chevron, because I get gas, I got to go talk to Chevron, and then go spend an hour and a half there, and then come back and spend 2 hours with fraud. See, here's what happens. When you use your debit card and you have let's say a large transaction that's fraudulent, the dispute is between you and the bank, okay? Your money is gone until they are convinced that you didn't mess this up or you didn't do it. This is a dispute between you and the bank. With a credit card, the credit card company is going to figure out that dispute. They're going to protect you from fraud, and they're going to take care of it, and it's not freezing up your bank. The lady tried to tell me to use a prepaid debit card for paying for, like, let's say Facebook ads, because there's nobody to actually talk to at Facebook, and you'll never find anybody really talk to you unless you're a big creator at Facebook. Let's say somebody skims your card, use it to run some ads. Well, they're like, well, you need to talk to Facebook and not Navy Federal, okay? And like, I'm going to just go ahead and start using their name because they're garbage. And they will just literally say, well, we're going to hold these funds that are gone out of your account. We're going to hold that. We're not going to give it back to you until our security team or our fraud investigator goes through and decides whether you can have your money back. Even though it's our fault, even though it's our card that jacked it up, you got to prove to us to get your money back. And that's the way it was when our account got completely hacked. And they did it. One time, my credit card fell off their automation, like fell off the accounts. It would still work. It would still, you could use it for anything. But if you looked up on my account, that card was not on there anymore. Same way on there. I could call them. I spent 2 hours trying to convince Navy Federal that they had one of my cards, okay? And that I had a card there that I had, and it was literally sitting on my desk with my name on it. And I wanted to send them a picture of my card with my name on it that they said that I didn't have in their system, but it still worked. That's how bad these financial companies are. And we are skating on like thin razor hair blades all day long that this junk stays running. Because if you're let's say a high net worth individual, you've got a lot of money, please do not let it touch the internet. Like, do not put that money in your checking account, pay for stuff, bills through that checking account, use your debit card all over the internet in that checking account, and then have 200 grand in that checking account and expect for that junk to stay there. Okay? These scammers out here are crazy. They're good. They're real good. And they will take your money, and you'll spend the next 90 days trying to convince the bank that you need to get your money back. And some people don't get it back. You know, when they talk about FDIC insurance, when you have $1 million, you go and you put it in things that is illiquid. Because if you got $1 million in the bank, you could wake up one day and it not be in the bank anymore. And they're going to say, see ya, or the bank could be closed. Like, don't get me started on this stuff. You got to really be cognitively thinking about this stuff. So you have a bank account that you do this internet banking with, and then you have another bank that's not in the same vicinity. You have another account that's not attached to any of these accounts somewhere else where your money's in. And don't put more than $250,000 in it. Even if they tell you with a POD, payable upon death, you can add $250 on it, it's theoretical. Like, until SVP, Silicon Valley Bank, nobody even knew how this stuff will actually work. They'll give you this little pamphlet, and they'll say, well, if John and Sally get married, they can do $500K. And then if John and Sally have a payable upon death of Jim, then they get another $250K. theoretically, like this, I was like, show me in writing. Not this little calendar you got here in this pamphlet. Show me the statute, show me the legislation, show me where it actually says that. And they couldn't do it. And so check all this stuff out. Check it out. So one thing I learned about phishing and a lot of these scams that these bad people are doing is some of them are really good. And I'm not saying I anything good about this. I'm just saying they are clever. And you need to really understand how these things work. Okay? Sometimes they know more about the banks than the people that you call at the call center about the banks. When you first call somebody at the bank, you're going to get a low-tier person answer the phone, and they're probably not even going to understand the scam that's being run on you. And everything you say to the bank, they're going to put it on you as it was your fault, and not maybe that it's their fault. I don't know how many times that I've actually typed my password in wrong on my accounts and it opens them up. And then I call the bank and I tell them, hey, you opened my account up and I know I put in the wrong password. And they're like, oh yeah, sorry, it did that. We need to fix that. There's so many layers of problems within the banks that they're becoming so big that they don't understand the scams until they're bleeding them dry. A lot of times it happens on big weekends where there's 3 or 4 days removed between when they start running them and then like when the bank reopens. A lot of times they're going to try to kick the can down the road, or they will spoof the actual phone numbers from the banks and then act like they are the bank themselves, because when it registers on your call ID, it registers as, you know, blah, blah, blah bank, and then they ask for your code word, which most banks operate like that, and then they they have your code word, meanwhile they're on the phone with the bank, and then they convince the bank to change your password, and off they go. And this is where I will say, just about everything there is to know about you is on the internet. Don't think that there's no information about you on the internet. If you're DOD, if you're any type of law enforcement, if you're any type of person in today's society, odds are your stuff is either on the black market or on the dark web or somewhere floating on the internet, or can be found, and they can social engineer enough to convince the bank to change your password. And that is absolutely scary. Our social security numbers were not set up for privacy. And since we have all these public records out there, you are, if they want to get to you, they most likely can. They can either hack your cell phone company, they can hack the utility company, which they probably already have, and they have your social security number, they have your phone number, they have your date of birth, they have where you live, they have how old you are, they even probably have a picture from you somewhere. I have friends that have had, and I said this in my other video, a fake ID made of them, go inside the bank, walk out with 10 grand. I've seen people hack people's SIM cards, take over their Twitter accounts, their Facebook pages, their YouTube pages, and then your YouTube channel, Facebook page produce revenue, change the bank accounts on them, and they're getting direct deposit from somebody else's YouTube channel. They block them out, and it's over. You must please understand two-factor identification. Make sure you look into VPN. If you have any type of net worth and you are trying to log into your bank accounts, have a VPN. Be cognitive that if you're at a hotel room or anywhere in a public place and you are logging into your bank accounts or you're logging into anything you see in those environments might not be the actual real page. There are many high-level hackers that will go to an airport or a hotel room or whatever, a large hotel room, and run these spoofing operations where you think you're typing into Google, but you're not. It's a fake Google, or it's rerouted, or they're collecting the data on you. You just really got to understand that these things are happening. They get your information, they either sell it to somewhere else, Eastern Europe, Asia, wherever, somewhere in the United States, and then they use it. They might not use it, they'll sell it. So you got to understand how these criminals work, and you have to protect yourself. I get onto my mother all the time because I operate everything on the internet. A lot of people know, you see my social media pages, you understand that these things make money and that I am a target. So I know I'm a target, so I have to be very, very careful with a lot of things I do. You can freeze your credit. Look into that if you don't need it anymore. You can get a VPN. You can get encryption on everything. If you are saving your passwords in your phone on notes, you've already messed up. There is a password encryption that Apple gives you in your Google device. Use that. Use a code generator that'll generate a code for your password to where you can have 2 or 3 pieces of tech removed from what your password really is. On Facebook, the code generator, make sure you have 2-factor identification, because I'll talk about this for a second. When you get a phone call and it is blank, nothing's happening, and you're wondering why is there nothing on the other side of this phone? Some of those are trying to record your voice, okay? And they are going to use that to AI generate your voice, okay? When you get a text message and it says, "Hey John, did you get this wine?" and you respond, okay? That is a bot. That is a computer that is generating, trying to get a response. And when you respond, they got you. And they forever know that this is your phone number, and they will send stuff to you. If there is a hyperlink in that text message, do not click on it if you do not know what it is. It could be a Zeus file. It could be anything that is going to put a worm or a Trojan horse or whatever on your phone, and you will never get rid of it, and it will track everything you do. Same thing with your computer. Be cognitive of these things. This is me trying to download everything I can think of in a 15-minute video to tell you to be safe. If you get anything saying, "Hey, your package was misdelivered, click this link below," do not do it. If you get something that says, "Hey, input your credit card to change your mailing address," be very wary of that. I know the USPS was doing that, but I had a friend that got hacked like that the other day, and she had to change her credit card after they got $140 from her. Elder fraud is crazy big right now, and they know most of these people are not in the United States. They might be in India, Bangladesh, Southeast Asia. They might be in Iran. They might be in Russia. They might be in the Eastern Bloc. They're going to be somewhere outside of our jurisdiction. They'll be using a VPN, and they will just keep running this over and over until somebody falls for it. And they have these phone numbers that responded on an Autobot dialer, and they're running these games on people continuously. And that's why I was so worried when I saw FedNow and the instant transmitting of funds, because there's no holdback anymore. Even though the holdback is so frustrating, especially in real estate, that this just opens the door for Pandora's box. And I feel like one day we will wake up and our credit cards or debit cards will not work, and we will be in a world of mess. So let me go into the next one is when you are traveling, have multiple institutions with you, okay? When Samantha got hacked, when we got hacked, if she would have not had me there with another institution, her cards were shut off. She had no money, no way to get home. Little Jack would have been starving. It would have been terrible. Okay, imagine being 500 miles away, 1,000 miles away from your house, your debit card stops working, your bank accounts are liquidated. What are you going to do? That is a very scary situation, and I want you to understand that that could be possible. Make sure that if you have this institution, have your credit cards, and then this one, have a debit card that you never use unless you absolutely have to. Okay? Or you have a credit card from this institution, credit card from this institution. Because if this one gets shut down, you can still get home, okay? Have 3 if you have to, if you can carry that many. Same way with identifications. Make sure you have your state driver's license. Make sure you have, if you have a federal identification, cool, take that. And if you're traveling too, passport. Because what happens if you're traveling, you get robbed, your ID cards are gone, you can't get back on the plane to fly back home because your ID card's gone, right? That's pretty wild. I realized that in Austin the other day. So I had one set that I kept, maybe at the hotel room in a safe. And then I had one I actually traveled with. So if I actually lost my phone, got robbed, whatever, I could still get home. because most people don't think about that either. That brings me to the next one, debit card versus credit card. Do not use your debit card, okay? I know Dave Ramsey says use your debit card, use your debit card. Well, I guarantee you Dave Ramsey does not use his debit card, and if he does, he's a fool. I love Dave Ramsey, but he's a not high net worth individual, and that debit card carries around every piece of his financial bank account information everywhere he goes, and you're literally using it everywhere you go. And most of the time these scammers can figure out, and the fraudsters can figure out which bank you're using. They can narrow down all your information, your social security number, blah, 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 blah. Then they call the bank and they convince the bank they're you. And same way with a lot of these other, pseudo-intellectual financial guys. When you get hacked with your debit card, or they steal your debit card information, it is now you arguing with the bank, okay? And the bank does not have to give the money back. They could freeze your accounts for up to 90 days, maybe longer. It could take you, what if you got $1 million in there? I know a lot of people are gonna say, why you got $1 million? That's not the point. The point is, what if you have $50,000 in that account and now it's moot? It is just sitting there stagnant until the investigation is over. But if you use a credit card, the credit card company is just gonna cut it up, issue another one, and they're gonna go and fight for their money, or they're gonna write it off. They're gonna figure it out for you. It's not gonna be you versus the world. Because the banks are a giant juggernaut, and they do not have to give you your money back. Please be cognitive of that, because when you give when you give your money to the bank gives you back an IOU. It is not your money anymore. It is their money, and they just owe it to you. Okay, so remember that this can be a very scary situation, because it was for us. Remember, only use a credit card. If you have to use the debit card, use it, but be cognitive of not using it any more than you absolutely have to. Maybe to get cash at an ATM that is like actually being surveyed, or that is actually underneath a camera, that is a legitimate site, that is a legitimate bank, and make sure that's where you're using it. Do not use that back corner ATM machine in the back left corner of that one gas station that's not got a camera on it, that could have some type of skimmer on it, etc. I've had that happen to my credit card 3 times. The credit card company just gave me another credit card and I was off on my way. And I got reward points and everything else in between. So just keep that, in mind. So that's really my entire idea of this. So let me surmise this with everything I've learned and I'm able to give to you in a 15-minute video, okay? There are bad people out there. If it looks like it couldn't be true, it's probably not going to be true. The bank is not going to call you or fish you for information. So if it's not the bank and you cannot call and verify, do not put your information in that system. Do not put your information in an email. Don't store any of your personal information on the internet or on a device. It can all be hacked. Make sure you always travel with multiple institutions and multiple ID cards. Separate them out in case something happens to one. You have a backup on the other. Do not put too much money in any account that touches the internet, okay? If, let's say, you pay your bills out of your checking account, don't put any more than what you're willing to lose in that checking account. If you're a high net worth individual, make sure that you split it up into as many accounts as you possibly can, or just don't keep it liquid. Buy a piece of real estate, buy some stocks, split it up. Like, do not run the chance of FDIC insurance because it's a joke. Well, that's the end of this video. I had to make this. And I had to get this out there because it was on my mind. I hope it would save somebody some trouble. Navigating the financial internet world is scary. It's going to get even scarier. And if you're going to use it, you got to get savvy. And you can do it safely. It just can be problematic sometimes. Just do your best to learn. Use a credit card. Pay it off at the end of the month. Get your points. And don't expose your bank accounts to the internet, to hackers. Keep your financial information safe. Keep it off the internet. Keep it the best way you can. Get crafty because it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Be cognitive that if your husband gets a text message in the middle of the night and says, "Hey, honey, what are you doing?" It's probably a bot. probably not really a person. It's probably ruined a lot of good relationships just because they didn't understand that there are computers out there playing games. You know, I know it's comical, but it's just the way it is. Okay, so comment down below if you've had an experience like this or you've been hacked or lost money. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.